ESPN 1420, ESPN1420.com. Welcome back into the Great Scott Show. The Great Sports Callers Open Think Tank. As promised, Associate Head Baseball Coach of Louisiana's Ragin Cajuns. Their season begins in 2 days over in Hammond, Louisiana. 6 p.m. Friday night. Babb, this the lead up to this season, if you go to the end of last season and, disappointing finish in the regional. I know you guys had aspirations for Omaha, but between then and now, a whole lot has happened, both in this program and in your personal life. Has this been the craziest offseason for you?
Yeah, it really has. As you mentioned, a disappointing end to last season. We were in a great position after day 2 of that regional, to push forward. It didn't happen for us on that last day. Very unfortunate. And it left a bad taste in our mouth. It really did. I know, especially with the coaching staff, it was a rough summer to go through, especially to watch as Arizona kept moving forward. But then we also got to watch the Coastal Carolina story unfold, and knowing that they were going to be in our conference this year, a team that we certainly knew a lot about before they even became a member of our conference, because they've had a great team for many, many years, have hosted regionals, been in super regionals, had never pushed through the Omaha, but certainly a nationally known program before that point. And to watch them, win that their regional, they actually came back, I believe, after a rain delay.
Yeah.
A game that was suspended, and the tide kind of turned for them, and they got that done. And then to watch them win that super regional down in Baton Rouge, and just the performance that they gave in Omaha was really exciting, So that excited us a whole lot. The fact that, it made us proud also, knowing that they're going to be a member of our conference, and we've got a national champion that's in our league now. Very excited to have them in the league. Very much looking forward to the trip to Coastal and starting that, what I assume and what I hope will become a rivalry between us and them, So we're on opposite sides of the divisions in the conference, East and West, but, no doubt will be a great series and great matchups for both of us. So, looking forward to that, and then just moving through the summer and anticipating the fall, the new players coming in, making sure they got settled with housing and school and admissions and all that stuff. So we kind of dealt with that, and then boom, as you mentioned, obstacles different this offseason than last, that the great flood of 2016.
Your home was flooded.
Yes, it surely was.
How did, it's been documented a little bit, but for listeners that don't know, and some listeners went through it themselves, but, your wife, Joni, your 2 daughters, where did you guys go from there, and what was the process like before you eventually got back home?
Well, that weekend was not just for myself, for very, very many people, just absolutely terrible and gut-wrenching, and it kind of leaves you with a, where do we go from here? What do we do now? Type of feeling, But fortunately for myself and my family, we had a great group of friends, a great family that came to our rescue, came to our aid, helped us gut the house and get it ready to just let it sit and dry out, and then eventually, rebuild it. And we moved back in about a month ago. In that time, we were out exactly 5 months. We moved back in on the 12th of January, so exactly 5 months from when the flood happened. And, in between there, lived at a couple different places, was very fortunate to be in a house for the first couple of months, moved into an apartment for the last 2.5 to 3 months, and then, eventually moved back in. So
I call you a baseball lifer, Babb. I mean, you grew up playing the game. You're from the area. How did the sport of baseball and the lessons learned in baseball help you in this aspect of your life?
Well, as far as the lessons learned, it allowed me, to kind of take charge a little bit with the family and just know and keep reminding everybody that we're going to bounce back from this. We're going to persevere. We have to stay positive. We have to take punches, take blows as they come, because there's going to be some along the way. And, when you talk about the game paying you back and hopefully doing things the right way, I told many people this, that throughout my career, I wake up every morning and just hope that I'm doing my job right. Hopefully that I'm teaching kids the right things and that they respect what I'm doing. And to be perfectly honest with you, some of the best help, I say best help, some of the big help that we had in this process were from former players. Craig Shambo, who played for us a long time ago, came to my aid and rescue with dumpsters and hauled everything off for me. Tommy Clark came to my aid with his moving company. Phil Devey came to my aid with storage. Jonathan Lucroy came to my aid with housing.
It's a humbling experience, right?
It really is.
The game paying you back, not just on the diamond, but off of it in life.
It really is a humbling experience. And, it's overwhelming also because, throughout the years, I've been the one, my wife and I have been the one fortunate enough to be able to help others. And when you're the one that needs help and everybody comes, it really is overwhelming, and just Craig Shambo, for an example, after he made like the 7th dumpster run, I believe, for me, I went up to him when he was about to close the door to make the 8th or 9th, 10th run. I don't know which one it was. And I said, Craig, I don't expect you to keep doing this, back and forth until this is done. And he said, Coach, this is my job. He said, I'm getting this done, So, it was very rewarding to have those guys, come back and help out. Truly, Lance Stutes, RLS Properties, rebuilt my house. So just very, very thankful for those guys and the so many great friends and family members that helped us out throughout this process. But we are back in. We were able to rebuild the house, do some renovations. So, fortunately, we it's almost as if we moved into a brand new house when we got back in a month ago. So now we're going through
I'm sure the girls are excited, huh?
They're excited. They got new rooms and everything. We're going through the decorating process. I've never moved into the same house twice, but in this case, that's what we're doing. So, still getting settled in, but very, very glad to be back in our neighborhood with our neighbors. And, and then the stadium construction. We have that. We have that. That we dealt with starting with the fall, and fortunately, the Lemoyne Company worked with us and allowed us to use the field throughout all of this construction. It came with some challenges. Obviously, the routes to the field changed. We had to keep the portable batting cage at home plate so foul balls wouldn't go into the construction area. There was some temporary fencing, that kind of came onto the field. So we had to kind of maneuver our way through it, but it was still good because, it was our field where we normally practice, where we normally play. We didn't have to get on a bus every day, travel across town, practice, travel back. I think that would have been, if that's what we would have had to do, we would have made it work, and the guys would embrace that challenge. But that was just one less thing we had to worry about. We could dress here, walk across the street, practice, get it done, and then when we were finished, head back and go on with the rest of our night.
Anthony Babineaux, Ragin Cajun associate head baseball coach, baseball lifer as I call him, with so much going on in your home life and dealing with the flood. Did you even have time to kind of worry when a lot of the fan base was worried? Are we going to get to play games at home this year? Once Dr. at the time interim athletic director Dr. Jessica Leger made the announcement, we're March 2nd. It's happening. It's at Russo Park. But prior to that, there was a question there. Did you even have time to worry about that or concern yourself, or was it kind of like, look, I got enough on my plate. If it happens, it happens. If not, forget it.
Well, it was a little bit of both. I mean, obviously, my first concern was my family and our home and getting that rebuilt and getting back into that as quickly as we could. But, in the back of my mind, when I would go to work, that was a concern of mine, and I had several discussions with Coach Robichaux about what are some alternatives, where can we possibly play if this thing is not ready. So, there was some thought about that also, but, I have to admit that my family and my home was my first priority in getting them right. Fortunately, we've got a great coaching staff that supported me and my family throughout this. I really throughout the fall almost felt as if I wasn't here at work, meaning because there were so many days where I had to meet contractors, meet plumbers, meet electricians, meet cabinet people, go pick out knobs, pulls, doors. There was.
You probably felt never ending at times. Right?
It was. There were a couple of days I can remember driving around just not knowing what my next move was going to be. I remember calling my wife one day. I was leaving Home Depot, and I said, "Babe, I don't know what I need to do next. I really don't. I'm driving down Ambassador.
I'm not sure.
But I'm not sure if I should turn left on Kali Saloom, if I should continue straight to go home.
Yeah.
Should I just stop and pull over on the side of the road?" And I know that many people had those feelings. But, fortunately, we've got a great coaching staff that had my back. And God bless Jeremy Talbot, because he took on so many recruiting trips this fall that normally he and I split up, that I was just unable to go on. He worked more than overtime this fall to make sure that, recruiting didn't slip. I attended a couple of events, but just unfortunately could not do it. I couldn't leave. I really couldn't. So Jeremy picked up the slack. Coach Freeman went on the road a few times because Coach Robichaux had everything that he was dealing with the passing of his mother, with the plethora of meetings that he had to attend for the stadium. So we were able to replace Coach Robichaux in the recruiting process.
For that matter. He was a big part of that
he was
process.
on that search committee also. So we were able to replace Coach Robe with Daniel Freeman. So Daniel made a few trips and helped us out in that regard. So, just like any other business or any other team where, everybody says, "Hey, I got you back." Well, we really had each other's back, and we had to. We really had to. We had to make it work. We surely, nobody felt sorry for us, as far as what we had going on, and able to continue to prepare our team and to go out to recruit and continue to get quality players and quality kids in here. So, fortunately that was able to happen and go on without skipping a beat.
ESPN1420, ESPN1420.com. Louisiana Ragin Cajun associate head baseball coach Anthony Babineaux is our guest. Anything but an ordinary offseason, which brings a tight group even closer together. And I imagine you're anxious for opening day every year, but this season, man, for so many reasons, you guys are just ready to go play some ball. One more question before we dig into this team a little bit. I know you growing up in the area, playing ball for the Cajuns, being, you've been part of the program for close to 30 years. And I'm not trying to make you feel old because you're still a young guy.
That's quite all right. The facts are the facts.
More than a large chunk of your life. When you were a young kid, did you always want to did you say, "I want to play baseball for the Cajuns"? Or did that come along in high school later in life?
That really came along in high school. It really did. As I got a little bit older, when I was younger, I remember following the team, but I don't remember going to a lot of games. I really don't. I know that I always followed the team. And then as I got into high school, and once you get into high school, the sport becomes more serious for you, and you have to decide if this is something that you want to continue to do or not. And fortunately for me, it was something that I wanted to continue. Just absolutely loved the game and started to follow the team more closely, started to attend more games. And then I think what kind of sealed the deal for me was back when I was playing American Legion baseball, all of our games were at Moore Field. So we were there 3-4 nights a week.
Yeah.
So playing on that facility, playing on that field, knowing that in just a couple of short years I was going to be in college. I knew this is where I was going to go to school. So, that kind of sealed the deal for me. So, I get into college and I went through the walk-on tryout process and was fortunate to be one of the ones that were, I guess, good enough to be kept. And I stayed for 4 years and, had a great time while I was playing. Was not an everyday player, but
Did you think to yourself, I might end up making a career here, or are you just a kid in college enjoying playing the game?
I was just a kid in college enjoying playing the game at that point. I entered college as a accounting major, and was my father was an accountant, so I was pretty good in math, so I said, hey, let's give this a try.
Sure.
Well, I gave that a try for 2 years and decided that was not what I wanted to do. Education was what I wanted to do. Physical education was what I wanted to do. And I believe it was about that time where I realized that, coaching was what I wanted to do. Didn't know at the time that I wanted it to be at the college level, but I knew that I wanted to coach and continue with the game of baseball after I finished playing. So fortunately, I had the opportunity to stay on as a student coach when I finished playing. It was Coach Robichaux's first season here in '95. So I was able to be a student coach that year. Loved it enough to want to stay. Was volunteer the following year in '96, and then hired full time in '97. And guess
here we are.
Here we
20 years later, you're talking to this jabroni right here on the Great Scott
25
Show.
years later. Absolutely.
Coach Babineaux is our guest right now, associate head baseball coach. Who was your favorite player growing up?
I remember really, really loving Ozzie Smith.
Yeah.
I was a middle infielder, especially when he'd run onto the field in the bottom of the first, or the top of the first, as a home team in St. Louis, and cutting that back flip.
You ever try to do that when you were young?
No, I didn't.
Never even thought about it?
Never even thought about it. I knew I wouldn't be able to land it. So
what
I
player
never
on the
tried that.
team could probably do that? Next year's team.
Logan Stokke could do that for sure. I know Blake Trahan has done it.
Really?
He didn't do it going on to a game, but he would do it in practice.
Yeah.
When he'd run out to the field for an
He was
squad game.
he was too shy with the fans to kind of do it out on the field, right?
But behind closed
He could
doors,
do it.
he would get it done.
You mentioned Logan Stokke came on as a pitcher, and now in the outfield. I mean, Coach Robe said I think everybody on our team would agree he's our best center fielder.
It's unbelievable. I mean, he makes big league catches. I mean, much like what you have seen Joe do the last couple of years out in the outfield. Watching Joe play out there, you think that, there's nobody that can top that. But I don't know if what Logan is doing is topping that, but it's pretty darn close. There's some balls that are hit, and, as a base coach, if I'm at third during an inter squad or wherever I am during an inter squad, just watching, certain balls are hitting the gaps, and I start hollering at the runner to, let's go get on it. It's a double for sure. I think it's going to be a triple, and you're waving the guy, and then there's Stokke laying out for the ball and puts up his glove, and he's got the ball in his glove. Or there's times where there's a runner at first base, ball's in the gap, and okay, you're going to score, so you're waving the guy, let's go, and all of a sudden he gets doubled off because he's rounding third base. Logan caught it. So he does a tremendous job out there. He's got a great arm. Ball is always down, so he's going to prevent the backside runners from moving up because the ball is always down. It's never up. He does a really good job out there.
I know ESPN1420.com. Jan Williams, Zach LaFleur, options in center as well. And you mentioned Joe Robbins. How's his knees doing? Is it looking more like third base just because of his health, or is it kind of maybe contingent on who you guys are playing, whether he's at third or center?
I think that's more what's going to make our decision is who we're playing. If it's an action team, a team that can bunt really well and does things like that, you might see him at third base. If it's a team that can, with a little more pop, can stick the ball in the gap, you may see him in the outfield. His knee is doing a lot better. He's moving around a lot better the last few inter squads. He's gotten on it and really run very well. So, not sure yet Friday night which spot he's going to be in, but what I do know is that he'll be out there.
And that'll really dictate the rest of the lineup, right? It starts with Joe, because if he's at third, your infield gets set. If he's at center, everything else gets set. Once you guys make that decision, other pieces start falling into place?
They do, just like a puzzle. I believe Coach Robe mentioned this the other day, Monday possibly, at his press luncheon. It starts with Joe, figure out where Joe's going to play, and then from there, other guys get moved into slots, and then,
Does it look like Pinero's the first baseman now, or are there options there as well?
There's options there as well. Bryn Conrad has been playing a lot of first base, and he's done a tremendous job. As a middle infielder, or just an infielder in general, understands angles, hops, knows when to push through, knows when to back out. Very, very accurate arm to start a double play, or even on a relay from right, back to the plate. or if the infield is in and we have to go to the plate, very accurate arm. All of his throws are always on the money from that position at first base. So, he's a very, very viable option, and he's going to play some first base. He really will.
And then Conrad can also play second. Hunter Castles can play second. He can play short, and Shaq can. Is it a blessing and a curse to have so many options in so many different places? Or do you guys prefer that than to just say, this guy is a shortstop, period?
I think it's both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing, obviously, because you have so many interchangeable parts. So you're not stuck with, okay, this guy can only play second base. This guy can only play third base. Guys can move around. I think it's a curse in the fact that we're going to have to really, really think about this and really decide, okay, which hitters do we want in the lineup, on any particular night, because there's going to be one, if not two hitters each night out that could be in the lineup and we would be just as good that aren't going to be in there because there's only 9 slots.
You feel like this has a chance to be the deepest team you guys have had?
It does.
We haven't even talked about the pitchers yet, but
it does have a chance to be one of the deepest. It really does. All of our very, very successful teams, I'm not just talking about 2000 and 2014. We've had many, many successful teams, and the one common thread is it had depth. Whenever we took a guy out, say for defense, we didn't give up that much offensively, or we had guys that can move around. Just to mention a couple of guys, on the 2000 team, Ryan Gill, he played second, he played first, he played third, he played, I think, every position in the outfield. I think the only thing, he even pitched a couple innings. The only thing he didn't do was catch that particular year. I remember we had scheduled a Ryan Gill night where he was going to play each position. Wow. Each different inning. I believe it was against Southern. The game got rained out, unfortunately, so it never happened. In 2014, we had, versatile guys that could move around. Ryan Leonard's, could play all over the place. So this team has that ability also. So, this weekend and probably the first month of the season, guys are going to move around and eventually, as we always do, we'll settle in on a lineup and where guys are going to play. But I really don't know if this is going to be a situation where we settle in on the same 9 in the same position, for the year. It really may not be, because we have options, left versus right. Guys go cold, other guys can come in. So I like the position that we're in. I really do.
Anthony Babineaux, our guest, just a few more minutes with Babb. We appreciate it, Coach. I know you're busy getting ready for the season. Quickly on the staff, we know Hanson Monica's the catcher, but pitching-wise, Gunner's going to be your Friday guy, Nickley your Saturday guy. Colton Schmidt, maybe Sunday. He's feeling a little tight pectoral, tight biceps. That's what my wife says about me all the time, only she never does. Yeah. But where are we at? Because TBA for Sunday, but that's going to change sometime pretty soon.
Right. Colton's not available for this weekend.
Okay.
So that's not going to be an option. So, we're looking at a Hogan Harris or Evan Guillory. It's going to stay TBA probably until Saturday night. It really will. We'll see how much Friday and Saturday go. Coach Robichaux talked to Hogan yesterday. We don't want to name Hogan the starter on Sunday because we want to have him available out of the bullpen Friday night should we need him against, a really good lefty. Absolutely. Or Southeastern's going to run 3 and 4 lefties, in their hitting lineup. So we want to make sure we have him available should we need him on Friday night. If we don't need him, then he'll probably start Sunday, and Evan Guillory probably will take Tuesday at Nichols. If we use him Friday, we'll just slide Evan up, to Sunday, and then work out Tuesday against Nichols from there. But that's the pitching situation right now. So it'll stay TBA until Saturday night or after Friday.
We've discussed a lot about Wyatt Marks now coming out of the pen, kind of doing the Eric Carter role last year. Dylan Moore, you got Colton Lee, Harris. You've got a very deep staff, a lot of options. As we wrap it up, what about some youngsters like a Jacob Norman or a Jack Burke? And for guys that are obviously really talented, how do they handle coming to a program where, look, you guys are good, but there's a lot of good pitchers here?
Well, they understand that. They understand that they have to wait a little bit. They're working very hard while they wait. They're getting much, much, much better. They really are. So, and both of those guys, I think, will be able to help us for sure down the road. But I really think that you'll see them get, some valuable innings this season. I really do. So those guys are going to be very important to our staff. On the other side of the ball, guys like Tremaine Spears, a true freshman, has had some really, really good at-bats, has one of the flattest swings on the team, swings with reckless abandon, but he's under control. So, I really like Tremaine a lot. Don't know if he's going to get a ton of at-bats because of the older guys. It's another situation where, just like the pitching staff, we're deep on the offensive side. So there's going to be some guys that will have to be patient.
Todd Lott's another freshman that's been talked about a lot in the torn labrum and DHing him early. But
right, but
fans are going to see him.
Todd's going to be a guy that's going to get a number of at-bats. He really will. Todd is very good. And Todd's not Superman. We're talking about him like, we're very glad that he's here and he's going to be able to do some big things, and he will. But, there's still times where he has freshman at-bats and he gets blown away because he's a freshman.
It happens to everybody.
And he's facing a first-team All-American. I mean, it's just how it goes. You're right. It happens to everybody. But Todd has done very well. He's embraced everything that we have tried to teach him, and Todd's going to be a very, very successful Ragin' Cajun.
Anthony Babineaux has been our guest. Closing question. A message. You have a message for Section A, and then the closing question is, what's the craziest thing you've ever heard from the stands in your entire baseball career?
A message for Section A, just looking forward to having those, just looking forward to seeing everyone, really. When we started, we talked about 30 years with the program, and just, I know so many fans, know so many faces, know them on a personal level, know them when they're out at the ballpark. Just looking forward to seeing everyone's faces, the groups that sit right next to my family. I saw one of them not too long ago that said, they have watched my daughters grow up over the last 12 years. Just I'm going to enjoy seeing all those people. I'm going to enjoy hearing Section A and some of the hopefully new material that they'll come out with for this season. Just looking forward to getting back into our park. I know our first 8 are going to be on the road, but what I'm really looking forward to is hearing how the sound from the crowd will project back onto the field with the canopies that are over the stadium now. The old Teague had a canopy, but this is, as you can tell, different.
Yep.
So I imagine that sound's going to be just directed right back onto the field and make it even more of an electric atmosphere than it already was. Really looking forward to that.
Craziest thing you've ever heard in the stands?
Oh, man.
I thought I was going to forget.
I did.
You got to leave.
I tried to extend that answer to see if you would forget. I don't know, Scott. I really don't know if I can say one.
Maybe you can't say it because it just wouldn't be appropriate for the radio.
No, that's not the case.
There's just too many?
There's just too many, and there's been things from hollering at me when I was at third base to people hollering at
all right, to
Coach
be
Robichaux when he goes out to the mound.
Next time I talk to you, you'll have one.
I'll think of
Deal?
one. Yes, deal.
All right. That is Anthony Babineaux. Hear him every Wednesday on the Sports Know with Billy Rickman, and he'll be kind enough to join me from time to time this season. Always enjoy the conversations, Babb. Glad you guys are back in your home. Can't wait for the season to start, and we look forward to airing the games here at Town Square Media and covering you guys all season long.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate the time.